G'day, down here, Epic Drives Western Australia. Just heading out to Fred Jacoby Park, which is out in Mundaring. Like I always say, I'm always out in Mundaring. This place is a good place to come if you're not into heading off-road, because there's bitumen the whole way through. We'll park up somewhere and wander down there, check it out. I've not really spent much time here, so we'll be working it out as we go. So Fred Jacoby Park, situated in Beeloo National Park. There's a couple of things to take note of. It's open from 8 AM till 4:15 PM every day. The gates are locked at 4:30. There's no rubbish bins provided, so you've got to make sure you take everything that you bring in with you back out. And you can't pick the wildflowers during the wildflower season. There's a couple of things to see and do in this part. There's a 120-year-old heritage listed English oak tree, and there's a couple of walks. There's the Fred Jacoby Heritage Trail or the Porta Gabra track. There's also multiple picnic facilities within the area. It's got a nice easy 600-metre walk. Find out about this Fred Jacoby bloke, and it's a nice area. Not a bad place to set yourself up back in the day. In the early 1880s, the settlement of the Swan River colony had pushed into the Perth Hills to Kalamunda in 1881 and here in Mundaring from 1882. In 1882, Walter Jex cleared this land beside the Helena River, built a cottage and established a vineyard. He planted the oak tree that you see before you. Together with his brother Matheson, they purchased the property in 1896 after Walter died. They developed the vineyard and an orchard along with ornamental trees, shrubs and flowers. This Porta Gabra property was at the forefront of the orchards and vineyards that we see in the Perth Hills today. Walter Jex took on the property in 1882. He built a cottage and probably planted this oak tree around 1886. When he purchased the property in 1896, he planted additional ornamental trees and shrubs. If you look, you can see large clumps of camellias from late summer and pink Easter lilies. In the 1950s, the Forest Department planted the native eucalyptus and acacias, as well as the exotic pines, poplars and other trees. It wasn't until 1955 that the final portion of the Porta Gabra property was released to the people of Western Australia. The Forest Department transformed it into Fred Jacoby Park, servicing the Weir village community. Other sites and trails were developed for picnicking, horse riding, walking and driving, as the car replaced the train as a means of accessing the forest. The railway line to Kalamunda closed in 1949. The spur line to the Weir closed in December 1952, and the line to Mandaring in January 1954. It was the end of an era and the beginning of another that culminated with the creation of Beeloo National Park in 2008. The owners used the railway that passed through the property to transport produce to market. In 1937, the railway siding here was named after the property, Porta Gabra. At the siding, fruit was sold along with flowers directly to the visitors that came by rail. The railway line operated until 1952, when its use had declined due to increased private car ownership. So I'm just going to take a walk down the Porta Gabra track. It's a moderately difficult track. It's only 3.5 kilometres, and it's a loop. So just right back where we start. Hopefully, a bit pressed for time now. The day's getting on, and it's hot. It's about 30 degrees, but it's shady. See how we go. Now it goes to show how inexperienced I am with my maps and directions. Just gone 1 kilometre in the wrong direction, and the whole time I was there thinking, I know where I am. Turns out, it's funny how you can sort of trick your mind into thinking you're on the right track when you're clearly not. Kept telling myself, it'll make sense in a minute. Hasn't made sense, so I'm turning back. It's an extra K. I'm a bit pushed for time, as I said before though, so if I don't make it today, I'll just have to come back and do it another day. So for those who didn't already know, the Kalgoorlie pipeline goes all the way to Kalgoorlie. The world is yours, the dirt is mine. Fair enough. Well, made it back, and there's a sign here which I stupidly read as meaning to go that way. I think that's like the kept track, or I don't know. But anyway, what they want you to do is to walk up this way, and then it's fairly obvious. You've got two tracks, and that's the loop track. But that's all right. I got a little bit more of a walk in today, which I deserve because I haven't been doing enough, and winter's coming, which means it's ideal for hiking. So by doing a few k's in the heat, I'm hoping that means I can do double that, triple that when it gets cooler. Because I mean, one of the things with the Bibbulmun, isn't it, is the fact you got 20 k's between drink stops. Not that I'd go more than 20 k's without a sleep. I'm not the world's fittest. Plus, I'm not really in it to go for the mileage. I want to get the footage and capture the whole thing and find out each little detail amongst, you know, with where I am, what it's about. So I certainly don't travel at speed anyway. I don't know if it's just me. I've taken a left-hand turn. There's not a single sign, and I kind of put it down to me being a little bit silly before, taking the wrong track because there's a hiking boot pointing right. But I don't know, I'm starting to think maybe this needs a little bit of attention on track, just some signage. And how I'm happy to put up some signs if that's all it takes for which way to go, because you really don't want to get lost in the bush. So track markers are a definite must, and this track ain't got none. I didn't come out prepared with a map or anything, but I don't think there is a map for this. And it's only a short walk, so just turn around. It's not really the point though. I mean, if you told someone you were going out on this track and you didn't return, and they went looking on the track that you'd taken a left-hand turn and there was no sign, and there was no sign to continue straight, no sign to continue left, it's 50-50, isn't it? I've taken a left, but what if it's straight? Something happens to me. People aren't necessarily going to look down this track. So yeah, not the best. Certainly not as good as the Bibbulmun for signage. But hey, I'm just whinging because it's hot and I can. Another one of those signs. I'm just confused because I followed one of those signs telling me to go right up to the road, and then that was it. Would have been a crossover maybe somewhere. I mean, yeah. Should probably researched it a bit more before I came. Probably obvious to people who walk this all the time. Ah, there is a sign saying that way. I don't know. It's all a bit confusing to me. Anyway. You know what is quite interesting is the pine trees, which everyone's seen them, they're everywhere. But in the hills around here, not so prevalent because obviously they're an introduced tree, but you've got them amongst the grass trees and all the native plants, and you get an interesting kind of smell, like that pine smell mixed with that typical Aussie bush kind of smell. It's really quite nice. And I mean, obviously it's oh look, Porta Gabra track down this way. There's a sign. There is a sign. I mean, maybe this is going to be guided, but this also looks like the goat farm track as well. Heads that's pretty awesome downhill mountain bike track. So sort of intermingling with that, which is the day to come down here. Wouldn't be the weekend when they're racing. But it's official that I'm about to get lost, because I'm sure that's going to be about the only sign for the Porta Gabra track. Track or what. One thing I'm fairly certain on is I did a bit of it, but you know, the Porta Gabra track, if you're familiar with it, then yeah, let us know, because I'm not sure how many Ks I did, but it didn't seem like the 3.5, because I already did a K at the start, which I made it up to 4.5, and I think I've done about 3.5. So I did take a shortcut somewhere, but back at the car now. And pack everything up. Pick up all the stuff that just fell out of my camera bag. Make our way back. Oh, it's warm.